in that way, shame our society, hopefully, into reconsidering its conduct.
Well, it's another way of your witnessing even through the prison system, right?
That's right. To raise these questions in the streets as in this action, and subsequently in the courts, and even through jail witness, is very much in the nonviolent tradition that we know of from Martin Luther King, from Mahatma Gandhi, and even back to Jesus.
So your sort of relationship with the government is, in some sense, is variable, as we had spoken earlier. But in this particular case, even though this video only goes 5 minutes and 10 seconds, you were allowed to, in a sense, protest in place for 40 minutes?
Yes, and I was surprised at that, actually. I thought it was very possible that the police would interrupt this effort and prevent it from happening. Instead, I got up on the fence and got chained to the fence before they could stop us, and then remained there for 40 minutes. As you can see, I'm up there, and others in our group are, they sing, they hold banners, so they continue to amplify this message. And we do this was done on Good Friday in the context of commemorating Jesus' own crucifixion in very traditional Catholic fashion.
So were you the only one arrested that day, or were there others?
I was the only one arrested in this instance that day. There were friends of mine who come from a similar outlook who were involved in and arrested in actions elsewhere. For example, earlier that day at the Pentagon, 8 friends were arrested, and in out west at Creech Air Force Base, a number of people, I can't remember, I think it was 14, were also arrested for contesting the operation of drone airplanes from Creech Air Force Base. I believe it's in Nevada.
Yeah, it's outside of Las Vegas. 14
That's right.
miles outside of Las Vegas. So when the events occur, what kind of statement are you actually trying to make? Do you feel like you're, in a sense, you are acting for a large group of people that, in a sense, are silenced by the everyday sort of mechanistic work week, it's not an unpopular concern among Republicans or Democrats that the promise has been broken. So
that's true.
Because I've polled them, and what concerns me is that I want people to really understand that you act not in isolation as a terrorist would, but you act within a community of persons that are well connected to the Washington area, to the government in a sense as well too. Your membership on the Washington Peace Center board, your participation with the Catholic Church. You're regularly seen. You walk the sidewalks. You take the bus. You drive a car. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I have been, even though I grew up in Burlington, my adult life has been lived here in Washington and been lived pretty much in the context of this sort of thing. And so, yeah, when I go to, when I attend my parish, people in my parish understand, who I am and what I stand for, and affirm that most frequently. You always run into some debate and conflict, but I'm used to that. And what I do isn't, when I do this sort of an action, when I advocate against war, whether it's through a symbolic action like this or through sometimes when I publish an article or give a presentation. I try many avenues for trying to articulate why I think, for example, that that war is immoral and anti-Christian, and that we shouldn't be participating in it. I do that in a lot of ways in a lot of venues, and so that's by now I'm pretty well pegged as a committed anti-war activist in Washington, and people know what they're getting, and I'm fine with that. It means we talk about the issues, hopefully on their merits.
So what were you doing while you were up there? I had asked you, and I think that it's a question that other people would ask too. I mean, and why did you choose sort of the uniform that you did?
Well, let me answer the second question first. The orange jumpsuit and the black hood are the kind of garb that our brothers at Guantanamo have been compelled to wear, quite a bit for the last years. So that wardrobe, if you will, is absolutely about calling them to mind and making them visible in the middle of our nation's capital, where we've tried to make them disappear into a no man's land in a remote place like Guantanamo, and isolate them and demonize them. We need to know that they need to be made present to the president, to our courts. They have been so deprived of any opportunity to receive anything approaching justice that we need to redress that.
So when you say brother, you mean human being?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gotten accustomed to referring to the men who were in prison at Guantanamo as brothers. Certainly, in terms of my Christian faith, we're all brothers and sisters. As it happens at Guantanamo, there are no sisters, but they're not different in their humanity fundamentally than you and I are, and that's really important for us to remember ultimately.
Right, so you're suggesting that we have some empathy, and I mean, I would think that as well as a democracy, we don't need to have, in a sense, I wouldn't know the correct word, but prisoners of war in such conditions. I mean, if we're supposed to be a role model of the free and democracy and liberty, then we're supposed to provide examples that are far superior to anybody else, so that if another country is allowed at all to provide criticism, then we failed. And that, I'm very strong on that sort of opinion. Just real quick, what was your sort of tool to remain calm while you were up there? Because I mean, that's a big thing. That's out in front of the White House. That's big time.
I approach this, fundamentally as a prayerful act. It's obviously got its political dimensions, but it's also a devotional thing. It's, the holy hour on Good Friday. This was noon on Good Friday, and for anyone who's been steeped in traditional Catholicism, as I have, from noon to 3 on Good Friday, we commemorate the crucifixion, most of all. And that's one of the elements of this. So it's meant to be a very prayerful act. And as I said, initially when I approached the fence, we thought I might not be there but more than a few moments or a very brief time. As it turned out, I had 30 or 40 minutes. And so, you try to measure your breathing, because you're absolutely right. The adrenaline can really pump under the circumstances. But, remember why I'm there, remember who I'm there for, remember my purpose. And I could, the traditional prayers that I didn't have a rosary with me, and I don't have a good enough memory to remember all 5 decades of a given set of mysteries without the literature in front of me. And obviously I wasn't in a position to hold a prayer book, but I did continue to pray and pray the Our Father and the Hail Mary and the Glory Be in a kind of a cycle when I wasn't